Welcome to Go Lurk Yourself, a podcast about streaming on the internet. My name is Krunnky.
I am Cherry Cake.
I am the Sunny D.
Today, we've got the Sunny D joining us to talk about a video game that's on the Switch and on Steam. At least I know those two. Is there anywhere else that you guys are aware of?
It is on console as well. It's across all platforms. Yeah.
Oh, it's multi-platform. Okay, it's called Forgotton Anne. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I kept calling it Forgotten Annie all week, and he's like, no, it's Forgotten Anne. Quit calling it that, you idiot. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I have not played this, but Cherry and Dee have played a good portion of it, if not all the way through. Did you finish it, Dee?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
You loved it? Nice. Well, without further ado, one of you guys want to take over and tell us all about it?
Do you want the honors, Dee, or do you want me to do it?
Oh, you go ahead, Cherry.
Okay. Right, so for those that don't know, this I think is a relatively unknown game. It was originally released, like we were just saying then, it actually came to PC, Xbox and PS4 first time around back in May of last year, and it got a Switch release at the end of last year as well, so it's across all the platforms like we were just saying. It is basically, it's an action-adventure game, but the style of it is very anime. So I think like Japanese cartoon, that style of game. It's really fun, a really good playthrough. Not very long, but it's one of those hidden gems that I think that more people should know about. Which is funny actually because I started playing it. I found out about it from a YouTube channel. They did a roundup of games that were to be released that month. And this one was on it, and I would not have known it even existed if I hadn't watched it. And then I mentioned it to Krunnky because we were looking for topics or games to review for the podcast. And I mentioned that I'd been playing this one for a little bit. Mentioned it to Krunnky, and then I think you mentioned it to Dee.
Yeah.
And Dee has now taken over your life.
Yes, it took over my life for a while.
She was looking for something to play, and I go, Cherry mentioned this Forgotten Anne. It's like an indie platformer game. Are you interested in that? And she watched a video of it, and then boom, she was all over it. Played it for like 3 or 4 days straight. It was originally released in 2015 on Xbox One, PS4, and Windows.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No, I didn't know. I was just looking it up here while we were talking about it. It's developed by Throughline Games and published by Square Enix Collective.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I had a kind of something in the back of my head that Square Enix had something to do with it because it kind of, there's something about the game that just boasts like what they're about. And when I looked up and realized that it was published by them, it kind of clicked.
So, just if you guys have never heard of this, and I'm guessing most people listening to this have not heard of it, Forgotten Anne takes place in a fictional world called the Forgotten Lands, which is a magical parallel universe where lost objects, everything from missing socks to discarded lamps, come to life, hoping one day that they might be remembered again and return to the real world. The player plays as Anne, an enforcer who keeps order in the Forgotten Lands, who sets out to extinguish a rebellion that could prevent her master Bonku and herself from returning to the human world.
Yeah, so basically, like you just said, you play as Anne, who is the main character of the game, and she's been put into the Forgotten Lands, but she is human, and the basis of the story is that you have to there's two kind of threads to the story. One, you have to find your way back to the human world, and two, in order to do that, you have to stop the rebellion that is happening down in the Forgotten Lands. Okay.
It looked like it had a bit of a puzzle element to what I saw Dee playing.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. My voice is starting to go a little bit this morning, too. Yes, I really enjoyed the puzzles. It's almost like a puzzle platform mystery game in a way. And then you have choices. You can be, when you're talking to the different characters in the game, you have choices of what you're saying. Actually, you can get to the point where you're being very mean. And I was like, what would happen if I did that? And I was like, I can't do that.
You can't be the villain in a video game, ever.
You should try that though, Dee, because I think depending on which choice you choose, there's different dialogue that that is given to you, depending on if you're mean or if you're, relatively good.
Yes, and I have a feeling you get a completely different ending too. So yeah, I should try to do that. I guess it would be kind of funny.
An evil playthrough.
An evil. This is a Sunny D being evil. But yeah, I enjoyed the little puzzles. There were actually a couple of them that were kind of difficult. Especially the ones where you had to do, there's like one, there's a few of them where you have to open certain doors, and you have to slide. It's almost like a slide puzzle. You have to move the little, marks into certain places to actually get it to open. And it took me a little while on a few of them to get it right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with that. There was one part in it, actually just for a bit of background, with Anne, you have a device on your wrist, and it contains what's called anima, and it's like a blue kind of ethereal substance that you can collect throughout the levels.
Video game magic.
Yeah, I know. Ooh. And this substance can control different mechanics in the level. So what Dee was talking about then, when you have puzzles that require locks being slid one way or the other to unlock a different thing, that is when it comes into play. But you only have a certain amount of it. And it is also used to distill other Forgottlings, which essentially means that you end up killing them. Right, Dee?
Wow.
Yes, you're taking their soul.
Yeah, yes. Soul would be a great way to describe it.
Yeah, because all the different little Forgottlings in this game, all these characters in this game, have they've got personalities, and I love that. They've got different names. There's one that I really enjoyed running into. It was this gas tank that was smoking and had an eye patch, and his name was Plum Bum. And I sat there and laughed the longest time. And he was part of the police force.
He's such like a funny character as well, because he's very almost simple in the way that he talks as well. So it's like, Plum Bum, no move.
Yes.
It's very like caveman style.
Oh yeah, they did the voice acting in that game. There was so
acting?
much. Yeah, the voice acting was amazing.
Like,
I didn't expect.
There's so many characters as well, isn't there? That actually have specific voices to them.
Yes, I was really pretty surprised. As small as that game seemed, I was like, wow, there was just all the characters pretty much had their own voices. I only had to read just a few parts of it, which was really nice. It's always nice when you're playing on Twitch and you don't have to read like every little thing. All the actors had the personalities really fit the characters, I thought.
It was well voice acted, you mean?
Yes.
Nice.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I was just like trying to understand what you're saying. So you played it on the Nintendo Switch, right, Sherry?
Yes, I did, yeah.
And Dee, I think, played it on Steam?
Yes, I did.
Did you notice any differences between the versions at all? Or were there any Switch specific, motion controls or anything like stupid like that?
No.
Okay.
Funnily enough, actually, I was reading a review on this before we did the podcast, and it is just a direct port. Okay. There's no extra
frills or anything.
Yeah. It's well, given that it's what, 3? It was over 3 years old.
2015, so 4 years now.
Yeah.
3.5, yeah.
Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, it's quite a solid game. It's a very solid port.
It was smarter than to port it then, because, I mean, hell, we're all avid gamers and have been for years, and we've never heard of it until in fact, I hadn't heard it even though it came to Switch until you mentioned it. So good on them to put it out somewhere. Yeah,
it's one of those, like, ironically, I think it will be forgotten because it's not been particularly advertised or promoted in any way. And like you say, I wouldn't have known about it unless if I hadn't watched the video with the roundup of games that were coming out. So it's a bit of a shame with that.
Yeah, because it's got a lot of really good and smart things to it. It's got the art style is amazing. It looks all hand drawn animations. The like you guys are saying, the voice acting is great. The story is good. It's got like a heart to it, and man, it's all for nothing, or not for nothing, but all for not because people aren't going to know about it.
So, you've finished this?
Yes, I did.
How did you find the ending? Was it satisfying?
Yes. Anything that makes me cry.
Oh no.
I feel like, so you didn't finish it, Cherry?
I have not finished it yet, no.
Okay, I guess I shouldn't. Well, no, it doesn't really say anything about that because, as I said, you can get different endings. I really do feel like you can get different endings depending on how you go through the game. But it's very... It really brought emotions, and anything that gives me like goosebumps too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a well-made game to me.
Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier as well when I, again, was just reading or like doing a bit of research on it. And to me, it's one of those games that you wouldn't really consider a game. There is like a game element to it, but it felt more like watching an interactive anime because... like like I say, there are platforming and puzzle elements of it, but the animation of it is so well done. I during the cutscenes, sometimes I was like, "Whoa, I'm actually playing a game here." Oops.
I know, it reminded me of, I'm a big fan of like the Studio Ghibli films.
Yes.
And just that art style and like the emotion that they put into that game remind me so much of those movies. It's sort of like when I played Ni no Kuni, I felt like I was playing one of like their movies.
Yeah. I know, I totally get that because it like you were saying, it's very, very similar style to Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about that game. I'm really glad that it came out. I was about to say the difference I did find out. I would suggest if somebody does play it on Steam to play it with, the controller.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go back to that real quick because I tried playing with keyboard and mouse and I did not enjoy that because you do have to do some of the platforming stuff. And I'm like, nope.
Oh. Yeah, some games are just made for controller, right? That's probably why it makes it a good port for the Switch, actually.
You lay in bed and play it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It's a really good game just to kind of relax with because it's not. There's no like stress in it at all. It's just a really easy game to work through and really enjoy.
Yes, it's one of those times where I finished a game and then I was sad and I haven't found another game that I've enjoyed it as much lately. It's one of those type of games. It's like Dragon Quest XI for me. It took me a while to actually find something else to enjoy.
Yeah.
I had to kind of go off the tracks and find something else.
It's like Tomb Raider for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand
There's a
that.
game on Steam that I think you should check out. It's called Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh, I've just seen a review on that as well from outside Xbox.
I heard about that game. I heard that was a great indie game. I don't know about you, Cherry, but I've been enjoying indie games lately more a little bit just because it's not this huge trek of going through a game. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to spend this many hours.
Yeah.
Well, I think that comes with the big AAA companies now understand that people want a 60, 100 hour trek and they jam pack it full of busy work. I was playing, this game last night. What's the Dark Souls knockoff? Ashen. And the first hour I played it on stream, I played for an hour and it was just like, nothing. There was no movement to the story. It had an opening cinematic, and then it was just fight these same two monsters over and over and over again, wander around and figure out what you're supposed to do. And I was like, this is not what I want to do right now.
For an hour?
Yeah, I played it for an hour. And I opened a door. That was all I did.
Oh, God. I did read that on average, it takes about 6 hours to get through Forgotton Anne. So that's probably quite a good length for an indie game, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was, and it was perfect.
How much was it, D?
I think I paid 20. I paid 20 for it.
Yeah, I paid, I think, about 11 quid on Switch.
Yeah, was it on a sale, or was that just normal price?
I think that was probably over the Christmas sale.
Okay,
I can't actually remember.
I think it's on sale on Humble right now for I think 16.
Yeah. And if you think about it, if it takes you 6 hours, how much would you pay to go see a 2-hour movie or an hour and a half movie? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's even more entertaining, and I think that's one of the things that a video game does. A good film can be it's hard to match, but you can't get the same immersion in a film that you do from a video game because you're literally driving the characters through it.
Yeah.
Granted, there's some things that can take you out of the story, like if your character gets stuck or you get lost, you don't know what to do. Like I was just talking about Ashen, but I think that's what video games have over movies, that especially the really well made ones. You're like, it connects you to that world better than any film.
Yeah, because you perceiving a film at a distance. You're not in the film itself. Whereas,
right,
like you were saying, then with video games, you're controlling the main character. You are telling them what to do.
I absolutely agree. It's like being in the driver's seat versus just sitting in the back seat watching where you're going.
Yeah.
I agree, because also I think since this has multiple playthroughs that you can do to get like different endings, I think it's definitely worth the money. So
yeah, because you're not just playing it through once.
Yeah.
I was watching a friend of the podcast, B Shiv, on Twitch this morning play a game called is it Shenmue? Is that how you pronounce that?
Shenmue, yeah.
Yes.
Shenmue, and he was playing that, and what and I didn't really think about it, because I've seen a couple other people play this game, and like, what? It's like a remake or a remaster. But it still has the old 90s clunkiness to it.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the texture work's really bad, and he was explaining what he loved about it. But while he was talking to me, I realized it has the same Majora's Mask, like 3-day mechanic. Or there's a timer, there's a clock, and certain things are only possible to do at certain times of the day. And I think that's like its own, its own game mechanic that you don't see explored all too often. I know Majora's Mask did it. Can you think of any other games that did this, where you could only do things at certain times of day and you keep going over and over and over again, like Groundhog's Day?
Yeah.
No.
Can you think of one, D? I can't think of one either.
I can't think of one other than Majora's Mask.
See, I think I was talking to Chris, Cynic Chris, who's been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild recently, and we were talking about this, and specifically Majora's Mask, and I was saying, though, I've never played it, but I don't think I would enjoy playing it because of the time constraint. I feel like there's always that little bit of pressure that you have to race against yourself and the time limit in order to get this thing done. So I'm not a massive fan of that constructing games, unfortunately.
I know exactly the pressure you're talking about, and I have not played Majora's Mask since it was new. So that was 98, 99?
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2000. I think it was 2000. So what I can say is that if you were ever to play it, I'm not recommending it, but if you ever were to play it, after the third or fourth time that it started over, you start to that doesn't bother you anymore. That's just the mechanic. You're supposed to get lost in the world, and what the way that you explore is. Have you ever seen the Bill Murray movie Groundhog's Day?
Yeah.
Okay, you're supposed to get in the weeds a bit and figure out what's going on because the town square is measured into 4 different ways. Like you go, there's outside the town, there's inside the town, and things are happening over those 3 days in repeat, and you can't possibly take it all in one playthrough, in one cycle. Yeah. So the fun of the game is figuring out all those things in the 3 days, and then okay, that happened this time. What happens if on day 1 if I do this, and then watch how it changes? It's a weird mechanic, and that game has not aged well at all. They re-released it on the 3DS, and I played about half of it before I was like, yeah.
Oh no, really? And
I played it with a bit of nostalgia. Obviously, I enjoyed the first playthrough, but I would look up things when I got frustrated just to keep moving.
Isn't it Majora's Mask? That's a little bit of an anomaly in Zelda?
Yes, absolutely. It's the only one like it with that time loop. It is. I would recommend, if you've never played it, I would recommend at least like watching a video about it, like a video review about it, because it's very special. Like the things that went into making that game, and like its themes are super dark. It's one of the most depressing video games I've ever played. Dee could probably back me up on that. She watched a lot of it.
Yeah, that was back in the days where I would watch him play the game and I'd help him if he ran into a puzzle. But I enjoyed watching.
Where do I go next?
Exactly. He'd be like really frustrated. I'm like, why don't you try this? And he's like, oh, that worked.
Shut up. I knew I was going to do it next.
But I agree with you, Cherry, on that. I think if you could give it a try, you might enjoy it. I'd follow a guide wouldn't you, Krunnky, on that one?
Yes. I'm not recommending that you don't buy it and you just watch a YouTube video of it, but that's exactly what I'm recommending.
Well, never mind. Well, some people have, I've heard some people have actually gone back and really enjoyed it, but they followed a guide. Without the guide, they were like, no, we would enjoy it. But I'm with you, Chair, on the time constraint. Yeah, on the, they enjoyed it, but, they said that, like, without the guide, they wouldn't have enjoyed it.
The thing about going back to an early 3D game from the late 90s, early 2000s is just like the Shinumi we were talking about, or Shenmue. I keep calling it Shinumi again.
Shinobi?
Shinobi?
Different game, that Krunnky.
The thing about going back to those games is sometimes it's a big pill to swallow to put up with like what we take for granted now. The texture work is really awful. Everything looks like a 12-sided polygon instead of a sphere, because the graphical and technological limitations of gaming then, and some of the things that we take for granted now are just not there. And that can get in the way of you being able to get absorbed into the world.
Well, it doesn't even like have to go back that far, because I remember playing Uncharted 1 on the PS3 not too long ago, and even then some of the controls in that game are just horrendous.
Exactly. That's what in Shenmue, watching Bishop earlier, he was calling it a tank simulator, because his character instead of in a 3D game where the camera's third person looking over your shoulder, you push left, your character steps left, right? In Shenmue, if you push left, your character spins left, and then you have to push forward to go that way.
Oh, no.
And they call that tank controls, because back in like the Atari days, that's how you controlled the tank, with the joystick. Instead of pushing left to go left, you tilted the control stick left and your tank would spin, and then you pushed forward to go even if it was down. And it's an old style thing that's kind of gone by the wayside over the decades. Game developers have said people don't like this.
Didn't like the original Tomb Raiders have that kind of movement as well? Tank
controls, absolutely. That's why it's there. If you go on Steam and look up Tomb Raider, the old Tomb Raiders, every one of them, the top post is a mod that takes that away and turns the controls into what you're used to.
Nice,
yeah. So, Forgotton Annie, Forgotton Anne, what kind of rating would you get it, or who is this game for?
I think it's for people who enjoy just going through kind of a story. As Sherry said, there's elements of gameplay. You do have to get some platforming done. You do have to figure out puzzles, but it's more about the story, and the choices you make. I think anybody who enjoys going through multiple endings where you find out, okay, if I pick this choice, what's going to do at the end? I think someone would really enjoy that. But I would give it a 10 out of 10 for an indie. Some indies you play are like, oh, that wasn't good. But this one I really enjoyed.
How difficult was the platforming? I saw you get stumped on a couple puzzles, but you had chat helping you with some of it. But the platforming, was it like Super Mario Brothers difficult at times, or was it pretty average?
No. I think it's average. She does have wings. You have to kind of get used to that mechanic. There's a couple places, if you don't have the wings, you can't get up. But once you get used to it, I thought it was pretty average. What do you think, Cherry?
Yeah. like you were just saying then, there was a couple of moments which I did get stuck on as well and got quite frustrated. But aside from those, it's pretty average in platforming sense. But if you enjoy games that are quite story heavy, this would probably appeal to you, especially if you like anime style as well.
So it's more story and puzzles than the platforming is the lesser of the three elements.
Would you? What do you reckon, Dee?
I almost think it's platformers, puzzles.
So it's all
to
three?
me. Yeah, it's all three. Because you have to go the different areas. So there is quite a few platforms, and then I think I'd almost say the platforming and the puzzle are about even.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not Star Road from Super Mario World?
Oh, Star World. Oh man, that's
Star Road.
Star Road. Star Road. Yeah.
Do you remember in Super Mario World there was the star levels that had like hilarious 80s names like Mondo and Tubular and Cowabunga?
Oh yeah.
They were like the hidden Star Road levels.
Can't really compare the two.
Slight difference.
Put this in a box I can understand. I need to understand how this game works. So big thumbs up from Cherry as well?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, for the price that you pay for it, it's definitely checking out.
All right. So what's next on the indie game list? You guys have anything you have your eyes on?
Ooh, next.
I know Cherry just completed Spyro Trilogy, or at least some of it.
I managed to get, if you want to go down that route, I did manage to get through Spyro 1 and Spyro 3.
Yeah.
2 can go jump off a cliff. But
get drowned in some blue lava.
Yeah. I know I really wanted to like number 2 because I heard a lot of people saying that 2 was their favourite.
Really?
But yeah.
After you unfriended those people on Steam, what happened?
Yeah. After they blocked me. We ended up, after playing Spyro, we raided one of our friends called Kawaii Kate, and she's a massive Spyro fan. She helped me out a couple of times with some of the puzzles.
Okay.
And I explained to her that I couldn't finish Spyro 2. She's like, oh no, that's my favourite one. Okay. But the reason being is that within the game you have to collect orbs and talismans. Talismans you have to get in order to complete a level. There's no questioning that. But the orbs, as far as I was aware, were optional.
Like a secondary objective.
Yeah. Until you get to the very last level where you end up fighting the boss. You can't get through that door if you don't have a certain amount of orbs. So I went through the entire game without collecting these orbs and thinking, no, it's fine. It's just like 100% thing that you can go back and do. No. So I got to the end and I had like 5 of these orbs and I needed like flipping 40. So
you basically have to go back comb through all the levels you've already been through.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which, actually recalling it now, I think it was Syndrome that was saying there is, if you like replayability of levels, this is your game.
Right.
But the thing that just annoyed me because like there was no forewarning that you had to collect the orbs before you got to the end. So
no big snappy looking dragon saying, "Hey, you might want to hang on to those."
Yeah. But they did.
So that you played the remaster, right? The remaster or remake?
It
Reignited.
Was I want to say remake.
A remake, okay.
No.
So the way I understand it, a remaster is they just take the original source code and like fix the textures, maybe make the put a fresh coat of paint on it, and modernize the look. A remake is like new engine. The game looks similar, plays similar, but it's not exactly the same.
See, I got asked this as well, but the problem is that I never played the entirety of Spyro the first time around, so I couldn't tell you if all the puzzles were the same and the locations were the same, etc. But they did what you just said, where they've updated the graphics, made it all nice and shiny, very, very colourful, and maybe slightly tweaked some of the controls. They're still definitely, you can tell it's from the 90s.
It still feels a little 90s-ish.
Yeah, especially the underwater parts.
So I guess my view on, like, when I see everyone got excited about Spyro, I looked at it like, wait, this is a game people remember fondly, and I think it's a generational thing. I think I was too old when it came out, because to me, Spyro was like a game for kids, which makes sense because in the 90s, you guys were all kids. I was outside. Dee and I were like, Dee never played Spyro, did you?
No, I never played it.
No, because when it came out, we were like, oh, that's, I mean, literally, when I think of Spyro, I think of Skylanders, because I think that's what the same company, like, that evolved into Skylanders. And my daughter plays Skylanders. So, like, that's kind of, I realize now that, no, that's, a lot of people still love that game fondly. And it's from that era. And I think your issue with Spyro 2, you'll agree with me. There was Banjo-Kazooie in that trilogy, and there was a Donkey Kong 64. There weren't a whole lot of, like, early 90s 3D platformers that didn't turn into collectathons. I remember everyone said, oh, you love Mario 64, you should try Banjo-Kazooie. And I got Banjo-Kazooie, and it was just like you said, oh, there's a door that takes 15 of whatever you gotta go collect. So go back and get all of them, dummy.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, God.
It's exactly that. It really is. But I think they smoothed out some of the wrinkles in 3, which by far 3 was definitely the most enjoyable to play.
Most polished.
Yeah. Like, the first one was really good, but it was the first one. So obviously they're trying to build from that base game in the second, which to me they failed. But the third one, they kind of rejigged it, and although you still have to collect things in 3, they make it so. Well, one thing actually in 3 is that when you're in the level, you have to collect dinosaur dragon eggs.
Yeah.
But they give you a clue as to where they are in the level, so immediately you're not like just wandering around aimlessly looking for this one elusive egg. And 2, the requirement for the eggs to get to the next part is quite near. So it's not like you're doing the entirety of the game and then getting to the end and then realizing you need to go and get all the eggs. So
right.
you're gradually building up your amount of eggs throughout the game, and then getting to the end isn't such a massive replay or slog to actually go and get the required amount.
That makes see. I think what you're saying there is what they learned in 2 is that, hey, we need to make sure that these gates are not really frustrating to the user when they get to the end. Did you ever play Donkey Kong 64 back in the day?
No, that was one that I missed.
Oh, I love that game.
Are you sure, Dee?
Well, it makes you angry, but at the same time, you have fun.
I hated that game. I absolutely hated that game. I remember it was the first Nintendo game that and it was actually made by Rare back in the day.
Good old Rare.
Yeah, it was the first 3D game that made me realize, oh wait, I'm too old for this shit.
Oh no.
It seemed like busy work. Just like you said how 2 left you with it. You get to the end of the level and they're like, you can't go on until you go find all this shit we hid all over the level. And you're like, oh, come on. And then like, it wasn't just that they were hidden, like 80% of them would be out in the open. You could see them, but some of them were like, you had to do some special triple jump and, land on top of an enemy's head. And they were like really difficult maneuvers to pull off to find them. And it's like, get out of here. Yeah.
Spyro 2 had that issue as well.
Yeah.
Because there were some elements within the level where you had to go and collect the orbs. Some of the challenges you had to do were just stupid. Like, no one's got time for this.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I followed the development of that ukulele game that was crowdfunded.
Oh yeah,
and it was made by some of the people who. This is what I remember. I could have some of these facts wrong. By the way, if you listen to the podcast, we get anything wrong, send your complaints to cherrycake@gmail.com. There are that ukulele was made by some of the developers, the creative people who made Banjo-Kazooie, and when it came out, it kind of fell flat. People were like, oh yeah, 90s platformers sucked.
Yeah.
And this one that faithfully recreates it is not great.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things sort of like we all have rose-colored glasses about things we played when we were younger, and we forgot about some of the warts and things that were on those older games.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you guys, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I always think it's a shame that Rare kind of folded or just died because there's some great games that they made.
Oh, they got bought by Microsoft. Microsoft was trying to compete with Nintendo. They got bought by Microsoft, and then they made Sea of Thieves for 20 years. Which is a great-looking, polished experience with nothing in it, but it's a great big sandbox with no toys in it.
See, because I think we might have talked about this before, with all the releases of like the older consoles, but like the minis, like the mini SNES and the NES as well, and what else has been released?
They had the mini PlayStation that nobody bought.
Yes, that one as well.
The $100 mini PlayStation with no games on it.
Yeah. Oh God, don't even. I think it's a shame because I don't think the N64 mini will ever be released purely because it's now, it's Nintendo, and a lot of the games were made. Well, a lot of the better games were made by Rare, who are Microsoft. So I don't think they'll ever reach an agreement where if an N64 mini does come out, they won't get any of the good games.
Well, I don't know. Nintendo owns some of the characters. Like, they couldn't release GoldenEye, I don't think, without having to pay a pretty
Which is
royalty.
one of my favorite games.
I agree.
Let me tell you. Go back and play it again.
Oh no, I have done Krunnky.
Okay.
It's unplayable.
It's like you think you want it until what I think would happen is if you think about the SNES remake has Donkey Kong Country on it, and that was made by Rare.
Yeah.
But I think because Nintendo owned the character Donkey Kong, they were able to make that happen. But maybe Perfect Dark IP is kind of like the James Bond GoldenEye game.
Yeah.
It was like a spiritual sequel without the James Bond franchise.
Yeah, I read about that, and I never played it.
Oh, it was superior to, if you liked that game at the time, it was superior to GoldenEye because it was just like a sequel. It was well thought out. It had some more dubious and bullshit guns. Dee and I had some friends that we used to play that game all the time.
Really?
Yeah, we had a good time with that.
We were like not even 21 yet, right, Dee? It was like 18, 19, and our friends would come over on a Saturday night and we'd play that game on a TV the size of, a 27-inch TV, and we're like, this is the biggest TV we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh man, we're old.
So, what games have you guys gone back and tried and been like, oh my God, this is nothing like what I used to play? Dee, do you have one?
Oh,
been severely disappointed. Like, sometimes you can't go back.
I feel like some of, like the NES games, like, what was it? Chip and Dale's Adventure. I'm like, I can't play this anymore. I can't platform anymore. How about that?
Was it Rescue Rangers? Is that what they call that game?
Rescue Rangers, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, you don't realize, we got the NES Classic maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, and we're playing some of these old games, and like, the sprites flickering and shit, like, I don't ever remember that, and it's really bad, and because it's faithfully recreated on the Classic, all that flickering shit's still there. Rescue Rangers was notorious. If you pick up an item, like, a whole horizontal line on the screen is flickering. It's really ridiculous.
Wow. Was that the co-op one, where you could play with a friend?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. They did that on AGDQ, Awesome Games Done Quick, recently. They did a speedrun of it.
That makes sense. It's a classic. I mean, it was one of the gems of the NES era. Like, was it on the actual NES Classic when it came out, Dee? I know we flashed ours with a ROM that gave us all the games.
You're not supposed to say that.
Nintendo, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but I've already bought all of your games 50 times.
Speaking of buying games 50 times, has anyone got the new Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe?
No.
Because that's a stupidly long name, and for a stupid amount of money.
It was $60. It's
Yeah.
full price. Like, that game came out in 2013 or 2012.
Yeah, I'm not very impressed with that. I can finally understand why Nintendo fanboys were so upset about some of the previous releases that for the Switch that have already been released for the Wii U.
Yeah,
they've already played it. I already played it on the Wii U, and for a game that, like you say, is pretty old for an older console which has been ported to the Switch, but full market price, and you get 2 new characters that no one cares about.
right. Yeah, it's pretty much, it's a financial decision that I understand why they made it. But the people that decision hurts is you and me and D and anyone else, the 4 other people in the world that bought a Wii U.
I know this.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for Nintendo to do that because for 90% of everybody, or 99% of Switch owners, it's a brand new game they've never seen or heard of before because they don't even know what a Wii U is.
Yeah.
I mean, and unfortunately, I agree with it, but if they don't put that thing on the $20 list in a year, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
But I don't really like that game anyway. It was neat for about a day, but it's a modern 2D Mario game, and the mechanics of it, like they put a lot of like speed run stuff in. You can record your ghosts and a lot of that stuff. I don't care about that stuff, so it was like whatever.
I remember playing it on the Wii U, and I was like, to me, it didn't feel like a very well done Mario game for like a 2D side scroller. I wasn't a massive fan of the introduction to like was like the ice suit or the flying one either.
Flying squirrel guy.
Yeah. It just didn't. I played through it. I got through it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would have. Yeah,
I think you can see there's a moment in that game where it looks like the screen painting, you know, like that really, really neat art style painting. There was like one section of the game where it's like, okay, there was something here. It just didn't translate to all the levels. It didn't have that level of polish that you expect from a Nintendo.
Yeah, that's probably
creativity, I guess.
Good way to describe it.
I'm gonna say that better. It was very polished for what it was. It was almost bland through 90% of it.
Yeah.
Samey. It didn't help too that like when Mario Maker came out, that was one of the art styles they used. So you've seen 1,000 levels of that now, especially if you played Mario Maker. That going back to a 2D Mario game is really ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nintendo sucks.
I don't think they're regretting it though. Did you guys hear about like the numbers that they sold just in EU? Like double what, because there's so many more Switches out there and that's like a brand new game to everybody. I mean, they made a ton of money off of that.
Yeah, it in 1 week it doubled the lifetime sales of the Wii U version.
Yeah.
That's just silly, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's the right move to make for Nintendo. I think if they were listening to me, what they would do is anyone who owned a Wii U, they know that they have your Nintendo account on record. They should give you a discount code or a free copy of the fucking game. I already paid for it, and then I bought the DLC, the Luigi DLC that it comes with.
Oh man,
I'm not bitter at all.
No,
and you know what? I really am not upset about it because I don't even want to play it again. And if I did, my Wii U's in the other room. I could just go play it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Here's all you need to know about that game. My Wii U is sitting on the floor of my daughter's room collecting dust. She's not even turned the thing on in a year, probably.
Mm-hmm.
She's in there playing Roblox.
I will say that one of my absolute favourite standout games for the Wii U was Yoshi's Woolly World. Yoshi's Woolly World.
It's Yoshi, damn it, Cherry.
And I can't tell you how excited I am for the new Yoshi game.
Yoshi's Crafted World.
Crafted World that's coming out in March. Me and Zerka have been absolutely fangirling, or boying, I guess, over this game that is coming out. I cannot wait for it to come out. I just watched the Nintendo Direct and the trailer for it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, I think Molly's excited for that one too because that's actually one game she actually finished.
Oh wow! Yeah, she's like D. She doesn't finish games very often.
That is not true. I'm telling you, go to my Twitch page and you will see all the games I finished.
D, we'll give you 5 minutes. If you want to get up and go kick Krunnky, it's fine.
I should. I'm going to go do it right now.
Ow! God
damn it.
So, looking forward to Yoshi. What about you, D?
Oh, I think it'd be fun, especially, is that the one you can play co-op? I think Molly and I played, Molly and I played a little bit through that. Once in a while, we like to, play together. When she doesn't get frustrated. But, that might be fun. I actually played through that a little bit by myself too. And it was really neat. Collecting all the different yarns and collecting all the different designs that you could put on Yoshi.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. I think we've talked about everything we wanted to talk about and then some. Big thumbs up for Forgotton Anne. Everyone's looking forward to Yoshi's Yoshi. Now you got me saying it.
Yes, it is Yoshi.
It's Yoshi's Crafted World. Cherry, how can everyone get a hold of you?
Well, if you would like to contact me in any way, shape, or form, I am on Twitter. I am at cherrycake518, and you will find me on Twitch, usually during the week, and that is twitch.tv/cherrycaketv.
How about you, Dee?
You can find me on Twitter at TheSunnyD. And then on Twitch, I am at twitch.tv/TheSunnyD.
And you can find me on Twitch under the name Krunnky with 2 N's. I'm also on YouTube. The very lovely Cherry Cake has been editing some YouTube highlights from my stream at YouTube/Krunnky with 2 N's. And you can find me on Twitter at Krunnky_Twitch. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.